thought I was going to be able to get away from Goodman for at least 2 days, but no, we are back again today because the University of Arizona has decided to part ways with now former head coach Sean Miller. I'm joined by Arizona alum and the guy that broke the news, the one and only Jeffrey Goodman. Jeff, how are you doing, sir? How are you feeling? Are you happy about this? Are you fired up? Are you excited? Yeah.
Listen, I'm never excited to see anybody lose their job, and I've known Sean a long, long time. But I think it was time. As an Arizona alum, I think it was time. I thought it was going to happen last night. So I was fighting it last night because I got like 3 hours of sleep 2 nights ago. Got home, drove to Chicago, flew home, and he had a long meeting last night, like an hour and a half. And there was no resolution at the end of it, which I was shocked about. But the longer the meeting went, the more you felt like, all right, nothing was going to happen in this meeting. You know, from what I was told, according to my sources, it was Dr. Robbins, the president, Dave Hickey, the AD, and they basically were kind of pressuring him almost. You know, hey, you sure you even want to coach this year? And seeing if he would quit, so they didn't have to pay him the $1.5 million. This conversation had happened about a month or so ago. And Sean's whole deal was, listen, if you want to fire me, according to my sources. You know, he wanted to get the 1.5. I don't blame him at this point. So they brought him back in this morning, and it didn't work, obviously, and they fired him this morning. So ultimately, as an Arizona alum, Rob, this should have been done a while ago from a standpoint of it was going to be impossible to keep recruiting. Sean Miller had forced to go the international route. They had actually done a good job. They had done a good job. They had a top 20 team, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with the team. But, you know, you're a lame duck coach this year. You got 1 year left, and ultimately you can't really recruit going forward. And you've had to go the international route and the transfer route by necessity. So I think it was the right move, part ways, because the program was never going to get back to what it was, you know, where they were in the mix for Final Fours a lot of years in a row. I mean, he was knocking on the door there in the Elite Eight multiple times, but ultimately all the stuff that happened with the federal investigation. And really, listen, to me, the biggest thing that I think did him in at the end, we knew the Book Richardson deal. We knew Book Richardson took money and went to jail and all that. I think it was the academic fraud with Mark Phelps and Book Richardson that was kind of the difference maker in Arizona and some of the other programs. Listen, the ESPN story years ago that was written with DeAndre Ayton and Christian Webster, Christian Dawkins, and $100,000, like that never came out. Never came out through all this. It was never out there. So that had nothing to do, to me, or should have had nothing to do with why Sean Miller was fired. It was because of his failure to monitor all the things that happened in his program, from Book Richardson taking the money to the academic fraud involving Book and Mark Phelps. What are you laughing at the ding again?
The ding, baby. It's you know, season's over, but some things never change.
What do you want from me? What do you want from me?
Some things never change. Oh man. Yeah, I guess my only that's kind of my take on it too is why now? Why did you wait so long? And if you're going to tell me that that it's because they wanted to wait until after the Arizona women's NCAA tournament run was over, I get that to a point. But you could have done this well before the tournament started, because Arizona didn't play in the postseason. They haven't played for like a month. Their season's been over. They were the first high major basketball team to have their season be over because they did not play in the tournament.
I said this in our pod how long ago? I said basically shit or get off the pot. Like, do something here with Sean Miller. A phony extension if you're going to keep him, so that the program is in good standing and he can continue to recruit for the next guy potentially if you're going to make a move in 9 months, or fire him. And now what you've done, because you had bad leadership, in my opinion, you waited too long. And again, the good thing is ultimately a lot of the guys that you're going to go after anyway are either in-house, and we'll talk about this in a minute, or still on the table.
Let's talk about it right now, because the 4 names that you mentioned, that you tweeted this out, it was Miles Simon, Damon Stoudemire, obviously alums. Miles is with the Lakers right now. Damon is the head coach at Pacific. Josh Pastner, who was at Georgia Tech, and then Tommy Lloyd, the Gonzaga assistant. like those guys weren't going anywhere else. Like I don't think Josh Pastner is leaving Georgia Tech right now for someone other than Arizona. And I don't think someone other than Arizona would be interested in him. It's not like people are beating down the door of Miles Simon to go get him as the college coach, right? Like he's got a pretty good gig with the Lakers right now, and if he's going to leave to go take over at his alma mater, I imagine that's something that would be that he would do over pretty much any other college job. And then Damon Stoudemire, maybe there were some people that were looking at him, but if someone was going to hire Damon this offseason,
UNLV, he was in the mix a little bit at UNLV, Boston College. He actually was at DePaul. There were a bunch that were in on Damon.
I guess the bigger point is that, like, I don't think that you're rushing to fire Sean Miller to get Damon Stoudemire. That's not to say he's a bad hire, but it's not like one where it's like, yeah, we have to get him or our program's fucked for the next decade. It'd be a good hire when it's not the only one that you can make. And then Tommy Lloyd, like they played until Monday. Like he didn't get home and have his season over until yesterday. So, it kind of there was no rush for him. So I do understand it a little bit from their side, especially if you're trying to save that $1.5 million in the buyout money. But it is what it is. So talk me through each of those four that you mentioned, who you would end up hiring and what you think is maybe the most likely outcome at this point.
Everybody's talking about Tommy Lloyd, and Tommy's incredible what he's been able to do at Gonzaga, recruiting for Mark Few, overseas transfers. You got Nemhard this year. He's gotten so many good overseas players over the years. He's ready. He's ready for a job, and this is a big one. And the other thing, Mark Few was close with Lute Olson, and Mark Few told me recently that the main job that he considered was Oregon, but the only other job he kind of considered a little bit was Arizona because of his relationship and just how he felt about Lute Olson and how Lute had built the program in Tucson. There's also a booster. I'm not going to say his name, but one of the top 2 boosters at Arizona that is also very entrenched in the Gonzaga program in terms of being a huge Gonzaga fan and a booster. So that also has Tommy Lloyd in the mix there. So if they go outside the family, I'd be surprised if Tommy Lloyd isn't the leader right now. I mentioned Mark Pope months ago. I think he'd be really good. A-list personality, done a great job at BYU so far.
A hell of a coach, too. A hell of a coach.
Yeah. I think Mark Pope should be in the equation if they're going outside the family. If you go inside the family, it's a tough one for me. I'm going to offend some people, whatever I say here. You've got, again, probably 3 people. Can I go with one more outside the family that you should probably swing for right now? And just why not? Because his father and brother are 2 hours down the road in Phoenix right now. And that
I got you.
Okay. So how about they go first after Scott Drew? I don't think he'd do it. How do you do it after winning a title at Baylor? I think he's at Baylor for the long haul. But to me, if there's a swing, why not swing for Scott Drew? Again, Bryce Drew at Grand Canyon University down the road. Homer Drew, living in Phoenix with his wife and Scott's mother. I actually joked with him before the game the other night. I ran into him in the concourse, and I said, listen, if something happens, because I've had a pretty good idea this was going to happen with Sean Miller at some point here, for the last week or so, as we've joked about on the pod, right?
Let's put it like this. I've heard about it, and I've heard the rumors. And if I've heard the rumors, then there's a 100% chance that you've heard the rumors too. So,
well, we gave me the job, didn't we? Don't I have the job? Why are we even mentioning anybody else? I've already got the job, and I've already hired. Who did I hire again? Mike Miller, Damon Stoudemire, and Gilbert Arenas. That's my staff. So that's like $300 or $400 million probably in their bank account, and we are going to get stuff done.
Dropping some bags.
But all right, let me get back to it. So Scott Drew would be my first call. Honestly, my first call. He's a national title winning head coach. Again, brother, dad, family live right down the street. He's going to say no. Okay. Next one. I don't know if there's anybody else I'd swing for the fences for. Then you're not calling again. You're not even bothering. I guess you could, call Mark Few because you're going to ask him about Tommy Lloyd anyway. So you might as well call Mark Few and say, hey, I'm calling about Tommy Lloyd, but listen, I know you had interest in this job years ago, a little bit of interest. So if you want it, it's obviously yours. And when you say no, all right, tell me a lot about Tommy Lloyd. I want to figure out exactly. Okay, so we're going to go that route if you're Dave Hickey and Dr. Robbins. And I think Dr. Robbins is ultimately going to make the call here. Hickey needs to figure this thing out too, though. Keep his job. Then, to me, at the same time, I'm doing my due diligence on Damon Stoudemire, Miles Simon, Josh Pastner. Those are your three. Josh wasn't even in the equation again until he took Georgia Tech to the NCAA tournament this year. He's a relentless recruiter. But again, hadn't had a ton of success at Memphis and then early on at Georgia Tech. So I'm not sure I'd go that route, to be honest. Then you come down to
neither.
Okay. So then you come down to Damon Stoudemire and Miles Simon. All right. We'll start with Miles. Miles was on staff at Arizona for years, responsible for the biggest win in Arizona basketball history, the most outstanding player when they won the national title. And he's been lately with the Los Angeles Lakers as an assistant coach. So he's got some relationships with a guy named LeBron. That won't hurt, right? And Anthony Davis. That wouldn't hurt if you hired him. I think ultimately he's been out for a little while. He also worked for ESPN for years. So it's been a while since he's been in college coaching, but people know who Miles is because he's done several different things. He's got strong ties on the West Coast to AAU guys. He's been on TV. He's been with the Lakers.
He worked. He was an AAU coach for a while.
That too. So,
yeah, I remember very specifically. I think it was with the Cali Supreme. Like I was watching a game where they were playing. I couldn't figure out who a kid was that was because he wasn't on the roster. I remember very specifically going up to him and being like, "Hey, talk to me about this kid over here." So yeah, he's involved. He's
involved. And then you've got Damon Stoudemire. All right. What people don't realize about Damon made $100 million plus. Okay, in the NBA, he was a lottery pick for Toronto years ago. I've known Damon forever, as I've known Miles and as I've known Josh forever. Damon grinded it. Okay, like first of all, he grinded it to get to the NBA. I mean, I don't know how tall he is, but Mighty Mouse was his nickname, right? I mean, he had an unbelievable career at Arizona. Took him to the Final Four, and when he got done coaching, Damon wasn't a silver spoon guy in college. He started his career making nothing as like a volunteer assistant at Rice University. Okay, Rice. Then he went to Memphis, and Josh kind of helped him, showed him, and he was at Memphis for a while. Then he went to Arizona under Sean in the early years and worked for Sean. The last however many years, he's been at Pacific, half dozen years, which is one of the worst jobs, if not the worst job in the WCC, and done a pretty darn good job getting them to the middle of the pack in the WCC. Obviously not beating out Gonzaga. You're not beating out BYU or St. Mary's. After that, he's had them competitive with everybody else. I think, honestly, I would go with Damon Stoudemire. I think, again, a huge name. You bring it back to the Lute Olson regime, and the other part is, listen, right now, the numbers of coaches, black coaches that have been hired in this cycle is double what it's been over the years.
It's more than double. It's like
60%. Yeah, it's almost 60%.
That's like quadruple what it's been.
Right. Yes. So I think that could absolutely factor into this as well, and should factor in. If you have, to me, if right now, if you're, again, as long as you have somebody who's qualified, which Damon Stoudemire absolutely is, Miles Simon absolutely is, I would like to see it be in the family. I love Tommy Lloyd. Again, I think Scott Drew would be my number one, and just take a shot at him. Mark Few would be my number one, I guess, and Scott Drew would be my 1B. But neither one of them are going to take it. And you're going to be at a point where you're looking at Tommy Lloyd or a Damon Stoudemire or a Miles Simon or a Josh Pastner. And to me, again, Tommy Lloyd has never coached. That's a big ass jump. And I love Tommy Lloyd. I think he's terrific. I said it on our pod with Borzello and Hummel months ago. Like, Tommy Lloyd and Mark Pope were the two names that I brought up, along with the Arizona guys. And I would definitely consider Tommy Lloyd, but I would go with Damon Stoudemire.
Yeah. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those three guys, right? I think Miles is a great candidate. I think Damon's a great candidate. I think Tom is a great candidate. If you are going to make me guess on who it ends up being, I think that it ends up being Tommy Lloyd, for a lot of the reasons that you had mentioned previously. But I don't think that you can go wrong with any of those with those three guys. And look, I love Pastner. I think that Pastner has done a really good job getting Texas Tech, getting Georgia Tech going again. I would just not. I don't think that he can get it over those three guys. It's mostly just there's too many other good guys that would want that job over Josh at this point. But Jeff, listen, I got to run. I'm glad that we were able to squeeze this in. I'm glad you were able to get your takes off. I'm glad that we could officially announce that you are taking over the University of Arizona basketball program.
There it is.
Bear down, baby.